Treatments with the touch of a button using the 3-Day Blinds app. 3-Day Blinds has specialized in window treatments for more than 40 years, and it's the name people trust. At 3-Day Blinds, we have stylish and functional window treatments for any occasion. For your free custom same-day quote, schedule your free now.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. A good Monday morning to one and all. I am Andrew Langer. You're listening to O'Connor and Company. I'm in for Larry O'Connor this week alongside my longtime colleague, Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Joining us right now as he does, actually, before we get to Joe diGenova, next hour we're going to have Eric Baxter from the Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty. We're going to talk about what's going on in Montgomery County. But right now, joining us as he does every Monday morning is Joe diGenova, legal analyst and former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. And Joe, I've been itching to chat with you because I've got questions about this indictment. I know the indictment, we've been talking about it at length. But every time I read through that indictment, I learn something new. My favorite part of the indictment, if you can have a favorite part of the Georgia indictment, the Fani Willis indictment, is this one of the activities that is alleged to have furthered this conspiracy is asking this witness to meet with Kanye West's publicist at a police station. Because I know when I'm engaged in a criminal conspiracy, I'm going to tell the folks that I want to meet with, hey, let's meet in a police station. Wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Well, one can't be struck by the brazenness of all of this.
Yeah.
Not just the Georgia indictment, but the Jack Smith double indictments and, of course, the indictment that started it all in New York with Alvin Bragg.
Yeah.
What you see is law enforcement people out of control with no supervision whatsoever, no constitutional limits in their lexicon of behavior. We have reached a very, very dangerous time after 250 years of being a free country. Never before has a political figure been subject to this type of legal assault by state and federal officials. This is not going to end well. And by the way, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. It's definitely not going to end well for Donald Trump. I don't care what his polls are. He's going to have to deal with the reality that when you have federal and state corrupt prosecutors, there's nothing that can be done about it when the mainstream media agrees with the corrupt prosecutors and when Main Justice, the U.S. Department of Justice, has become part of the problem. And so all I can tell you is the Georgia indictment is a farce, a legal farce, a constitutional farce. Those cases should all be removed to federal court because they involve matters involving a federal election. Federal officials predominate in it. And those other sort of small figures who've been indicted for committing one act, those indictments should all be dismissed on their face by the state authorities. But none of the state judges in Georgia is going to do anything to rain on this parade. And that is why federal removal is so important. Although the judge to whom the first removal cases has been assigned does not seem sympathetic to removal.
Let me ask you this, because we talk about this. We talk about the pattern of the indictments and the corruption here. We have the story now that Biden officials met with Jack Smith's aide weeks before the Trump indictment. We have allegations of coordination between Fani Willis and federal authorities. Talk about the disturbing nature of all of these sort of interactions.
Well, ordinarily, it wouldn't be a problem for state and federal prosecutors to talk to one another. They do that all the time, every day of the week. For example, there are drug task forces and gang task forces, and they talk to each other all the time. What's different is the subject matter and the substance of these indictments. It's all about one thing. It's about stopping a person from being a presidential candidate. We've never seen anything like this before. So that is what makes this type of collaboration or collusion between state and federal prosecutors disturbing, perhaps unconstitutional, perhaps illegal. But the only way you establish that is by hearings. And the only people now genuinely interested in getting at the facts are the Republicans who now run the U.S. House of Representatives.
Yeah.
So that the notion that at this point they need more time to determine whether or not there should be an inquiry is ludicrous. I had a conversation the other day with someone, a stockbroker, very knowledgeable, very wise, very Republican, very conservative, who said he had lost faith in the House of Representatives and was not going to vote anymore because Republicans do nothing when they get the power. And that tells you in a nutshell the conundrum for the Republicans.
Right.
If they don't go to an impeachment inquiry, they're going to lose the House.
Yeah.
Julie, go ahead.
Yeah. Just a quick question. Do you think the Republicans are immediately going to move to impeaching the president, or are they going to take an interim step and impeach David Weiss first?
There's not enough time to impeach David Weiss or Merrick Garland. Those days are gone. Let's just remember, they barely control the House now.
Yeah.
Their time in office ends in January of 2025. They are running out of time. They need an impeachment inquiry, not an impeachment proceeding, an impeachment inquiry so they can get advanced subpoena power to get the bank and personal financial records of the president and his entire family. Now, that's going to take time, because the Biden family has indicated that they are lawyering up and they are going to litigate every one of those subpoenas. Now, why the Republicans have not sent out secret subpoenas like the January 6th committee did and the Intel committee under Adam Schiff, where they got phone records and bank records and all kinds of other records secretly, apparently the Republicans have not done that. Why they haven't done that? I'll tell you exactly why. Because they're stupid.
Yes.
This is definitely it. I mean, let me ask you this, and we're talking with Joe diGenova, legal analyst, former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. Is it about making sure that Donald Trump isn't on the ballot, or is it making sure that our focus going into 2024 is talking about whether or not Donald Trump should be on the ballot? It seems to me that the Democrats win both ways. Either they get Donald Trump off the ballot, or they get Donald Trump put in jail, or they get us focused on talking about whether or not Donald Trump is on the ballot. Where do you fall in all this?
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, the result is the same. And so the issue, what the Democrats have done, now remember, they could never do this unless they had the media in their corner. So the media is complicit in this. And without an independent journalism, you lose. The public loses. Yeah. It doesn't matter how brazen everything they're doing is, because, if the tree falls in the forest and there's nobody there, who knows? Who cares? Yeah. And what's going on here is a massive, massive coordination between the media and the Democratic Party to make it sound like the issue is Donald Trump. The issue is Joe Biden. We have the single most corrupt president in the history of the United States. The evidence of bribery, extortion, foreign corrupt practices, failure to register as a foreign agent, avoiding income taxes. Why do you create shell companies? To avoid detection. The motto of the Biden administration is concealment. Yeah. Everything that they have done in their private life and in their public life involves concealment.
Right.
And why do you conceal? You conceal because you don't want to be discovered. And so it doesn't matter what happens now. The House is the last resort. They either get these bank records and show their offshore accounts where all the grandchildren have tons of money for simply knowing Papa Joe. And the bottom line is very simple. The Republicans have the opportunity to move swiftly right after Labor Day or whenever it is these people come back to get the impeachment inquiry started. They do not have a lot of time.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, we're going to continue our conversation with Joe diGenova in just a moment, but first,
WMAL. Making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
On the next Vince Colonnade show, the left does it again. We'll get into the details of their latest efforts to meddle in the 2024 election. Join us 3 to 6 right here on WMAL.
So we're talking with Joe diGenova. We talk to him every Monday. He's a legal analyst, former U.S. attorney to the District of Columbia. When we were going out, Joe, we were talking about Hunter Biden. There is this interview with Victor Shokin, a lot of discussion over Victor Shokin and his credibility. And one of the things that gets me is we have this email from 2015 from Victoria Newland, who is a senior State Department official, letter to Shokin praising him as prosecutor, saying that the U.S. has been impressed with him. A year later, he is out of office, fired by Joe Biden. Joe Biden very proud of getting Victor Shokin fired. What do you make of all this?
Well, you've seen that famous tape of Joe Biden at the Council on Foreign Relations bragging about how he got Victor Shokin fired. Now, in the law, we call that something. It's called a confession, and it's an admission. It's an admission against interest. It's usable against him. By the way, every one of Joe Biden's public statements where he has lied about everything that he's talked about, that's the one thing he didn't lie about, that he got Shokin fired.
Right.
But all of his lies, and that public statement, by the way, about Shokin, which is on tape, every time Joe Biden made a statement like that, he was a co-conspirator, remember, in a plot to do various things, to hide certain things in the corruption in his family. Every time he made one of those statements, the statute of limitations for all crimes related to those acts was extended brand new. So all this whining about the tax cases, every one of those tax cases can be revived by a conspiracy count against the Biden family. So let's see how creative David Weiss is. But the bottom line is this. In 2019, this is really fascinating. This is how scary Fox News is. In 2019, my wife, Victoria Tunson, informed America's television audience about everything that Victor Shokin is saying right now on a Lou Dobbs show. Yep. And at the end of that show, that was the last time either Victoria or I ever appeared on Fox News. Everything that Brian Kilmeade is talking about in these interviews with Victor Shokin was on Lou Dobbs that night in 2000. And when I called, I sent a text message to Brett Baer the other day reminding him of that. He sent me back a snarky text message saying, yeah. I mean, let me tell you something. Fox News is in the tank. And if they pretend by letting some of the people on Fox and Friends in the morning talk about this stuff, they are the biggest phonies up at Fox. And it starts at the head with Suzanne Scott, a close personal friend of George Soros. She's the lead thug at Fox News. So all this breathless stuff about Shokin on Fox, they had it 4 years ago on Lou Dobbs' show from our law firm, and they blew it off.
Wow, Joe. Just following on this Shokin and the Hunter Biden investigation, McCarthy this weekend actually said that Democrats are starting to get nervous. I can predict your answer. Why are they nervous? The media's in the tank for Joe. But do you think there's going to be any kind of moment where Democrats do cross party lines and join the Republicans in calling for impeachment or for anything?
No. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what I believe is definitely going to happen. There's a fascinating article in the Washington Times this morning by a psychiatrist analyzing Biden's physical and mental state, and he says that Biden is suffering from confabulation, which is a late-stage form of dementia, where you begin to make up things. When your memory fails you, you fill in the blanks with fraud. And that is exactly what Biden has been doing for a very long period of time. What's going to happen is he's going to get so bad, Biden, is going to get so bad that there will be the Barry Goldwater trip to the White House. It will be ugly. It will be nasty. I don't know who among the Democrats is capable of making that trip. But it is fairly obvious that the president is on very, very substantial amounts of psychotropic medications to keep him functioning. You don't disappear for days at a time, for hours and hours out of the day because you are functioning. He is dysfunctional. He cannot function. He is drugged up. And you talk to people in Wilmington, Delaware, the people up there where I was born and raised, where I knew the Bidens, every phone call you have, people are incensed. They're outraged. They're embarrassed by his presence. They're embarrassed by the Grifter family. They know he's sick. They know he's mentally deficient. And to think that wife, Jill Biden, is putting our country through this because she wants to be Edith Wilson.
Yes.
She wants to run the country just like Edith Wilson did when Woodrow had his stroke. We are in a very bad situation. The Democrats do not have any brave people amongst them. You have people like Hakeem Jeffries, this clown, who all he knows how to do is do partisan hackery. And then, of course, there's Chuck Schumer, who knows how to make threats to Supreme Court justices. But they will be overcome by circumstances. Biden will become so dysfunctional that he will be hidden every day, and Jill Biden will be president. I don't fear Kamala. I fear Jill.
Yeah.
Hear, hear. Well, and it's certainly all. Listen, the moment for them is going to be if No Labels does put up a candidate, which is why they're so afeared. They're going to be forced to get rid of Joe. Joe diGenova, listen, thank you so very much for joining us today.
God save America.
God save America. It's Joe diGenova. Listen, we've got so much more to get to right now at 7:23 on WMAL.